But he'll jump in sometime and be like,
Yeah,
wait,
I
wait, wait,
might be like off camera a little bit, like focusing on recording, but if I'm a little like involved in the conversation, I will jump in. So
Okay,
don't get scared or anything.
no worries.
Let me see here. All right. Sheila, can you count 1 to 10 for me again?
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Perfect. And Sasha,
Yes.
if you can count from 1 to 10.
1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10.
Perfect. All right. So whenever you're ready, we can go ahead and probably
Okay.
just shoot the intro if you want to look at the
Okay.
camera there.
Full name?
Whatever you're comfortable with.
Okay.
Yeah.
Yeah.
This is Sasha with New York Life, and you're watching Business Fumbles.
All right. We can go ahead and start. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
No, you're good.
That was
It was
quick.
quick. It was quick. That's better. It's really quick. Yeah.
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 Okay. So, yeah, today's episode is with another business owner. And as Sasha said, that she is with New York Life, and there you are most of the time self-employed. And
Yes.
you know, and it's based off of your sales and who you bring in. And I thought that she would be a good person to interview to give you out there the knowledge, because I want her to go into what she started off doing, you know, and what led her into working with the insurance industry.
Yeah, so I originally was a pastry chef. I grew up here in Las Vegas. And so I was a pastry chef for a few years. I loved what I did. It was really fun working in kitchens, making cakes, going to people's parties. However, I just felt like I wasn't helping anyone and also at the same time not helping myself because as a pastry chef, you don't make a ton of money. You know, people out there might know that, but you don't make a ton of money. And so I wanted to do something where I felt like I could further myself financially and at the same time help the people around me and help the people in my community. And looking around, I realized one thing that would have helped me growing up was knowing about money and how money works
Yeah.
and being able to utilize it as a tool and not have it be a burden. And in a lot of communities, especially with younger people nowadays, money is a source of stress. And it's because we
Yes.
don't know what to do with it. We don't know how to obtain it. We don't know how to keep it. And so I really wanted to educate myself so I can educate others on how to do that and further themselves and their families and their businesses financially and really utilize the tool that it can be.
Yes. And I'm guilty. I'm going to start off and say that I am guilty because we as entrepreneurs, I know that we have discussed this on several of the other episodes, where when you're running a business and you're making your money, you are focused more on making the money, paying the bills, looking at your profit. And sometimes that profit, when it's there, you know, you're comfortable. And then something happens, and then you're no longer comfortable. And you find yourself in this race of making the money and keeping things going. And more often, I'm going to say this, more often than not, we never focus on our future. You know, most business owners don't have savings. All of the people that I work with, I always bring that to their attention.
You're gonna have to stop. We might have to redo that intro.
Why?
My camera just crashed, and
Okay.
I just caught that.
Okay.
You've been acting up today so bad. Let me see something. I was like, you're talking. I cannot see you on there. Like, what's going on?
Is this? Yeah. I don't know. This is okay now.
Are you feeling good?
Yeah.
There we go. Okay, that looks a lot. Oh, I gotta fix it. You might actually have to a little bit
Okay.
because your camera time,
Okay.
just in case.
Okay. Gotcha.
Sorry about that.
It happens, yeah.
This is the first. I promise. This is the first time this has happened.
I did a podcast a few years ago and it
Mm-hmm.
was during COVID, so we did it over Zoom. And the entire time that we thought we were recording, she was not recording. So we had to redo it. And I was like, it's never going to be as good
It's not
as the
going to be
first
as
one.
good.
It's never
Yeah.
going to be as good as
So
the
I'm
first
glad he
one.
caught us.
Right, because we would have kept going.
Yeah.
And then I would have been like, well, I don't remember what I said now.
I was already getting ready. I was like, maybe I can think of a question real quick. But I was like, before I start talking, let me actually do my job. I know that we're already ready to go. But I mean, we have the intro that we started with, but we might want to start from
Let's
there.
start from
Start from her introducing herself
yeah,
again.
and
So
then
just
let's start all over.
yeah. We'll work from that. All right. Fortunately, we only lost 5 minutes, so we're okay. All right. So yeah, if you just want to like,
Go ahead.
Hi, I'm Sasha with New York Life Insurance and Securities, and you're watching Business Fumbles.
Yes, you are. And today's guest is she's someone's I felt like we really needed to have sit in because she is that person to help business owners, prepare for the future. But I wanted her to talk about what she did before and why she chose to switch her career.
Yeah, so I grew up here in Las Vegas, and originally I was a pastry chef. I worked in the business for a few years. I had a lot of fun, made some beautiful cakes and pastries, but I really felt like I wasn't helping anyone being in the kitchen. I wasn't helping myself further financially either because it is a restricted income as a pastry chef. And so I started thinking about what would have helped me growing up. And all of the knowledge that I have and all the things I've learned and obsessed over, I didn't know anything about money. And looking
Hmm.
around me, a lot of the people in my family didn't grow up learning about money. A lot of people my age didn't grow up learning about money. And so I wanted to do something where I could help people help themselves. And knowledge is the best thing that we can share, and financial literacy is something that is lacking everywhere. So I wanted to be able to make sure that I can help the people around me and the businesses in my community help grow their money and keep their money and utilize it as the tool that it is.
Yeah. And see, I have to say this, people. I'm guilty because I was one of those people that um, we as business owners, what we tend to do is we tend to work, we earn the money, we pay the bills, we focus on the growth, and it's a continued cycle. And sometimes we save and we have that cushion, and then something happens and that cushion is no longer there. And I was guilty of that. And a lot of times being self-employed, you do not think about your future. You don't think about saving for your future. Most of us don't have 401ks because our businesses are small. So we don't want to consume that cost. And we don't really think about, you know, um, our future, what's going to happen and the things that might transpire that's going to cost us.
Hmm.
We don't think about that. So when I met Sasha, she showed me some things and I was just like, really? So today I want to take this opportunity to allow her, to discuss some of the options that we have as business owners. And she'll help you to see that sometimes we look at those things and we say it's another bill or another cost.
mm-hmm.
Sometimes, we have to look at that and see the value in it. So I want to start off by saying, you work with New York Life, and let's talk about the difference between New York Life and all of the other insurance components out there because they got the Shield Financial.
Mm-hmm.
I
There's
think
tons of
is
companies and
yeah,
firms,
There's a
it
lot.
tons.
There's a
is,
lot.
it is, but I want to talk about New York because I know that that was one of the my decision making tools once I learned and researched what the difference is between them and other companies.
Mm-hmm.
But I'll let the expert talk about that.
So from firsthand experience, I too chose New York Life because of what they represent and everything. I got licensed originally with a smaller company, Bankers Life and Casualty. It
Mm-hmm.
operates like many insurance companies do. They get you licensed, you come in, you write down all your family and friends, and you sell to them. And then you try and recruit them and make
Mm-hmm.
them all agents and make everyone agents and advisors.
Mm-hmm.
That's not what I got in this business to do. So once I was licensed and saw that was somewhat how they operated and that's where it was going, and there were certain rules within that smaller company where I couldn't become a financial advisor without hitting certain criteria. They wouldn't let me study for the exams early on. Just a lot of red tape that was kind of hindering my why and my whole motivation in doing it. So I started to look for other companies, bigger firms where I knew they would have the money to do the training that I needed so I can get the proper information,
Mm-hmm.
so that I wasn't out here causing more damage and misinforming people, you know?
Yeah.
So I interviewed with four other companies, Mass Mutual, Northwestern Mutual, or four companies total. Mass Mutual, Northwestern Mutual, Edward Jones, and New York Life Insurance. I decided to go with New York Life Insurance because of not only their treatment of their employees and agents, we get retirement packages, we get health insurance, which a lot of other companies don't offer, but
Wow.
what they mean to the community and what they mean to our clients.
Yeah.
New York Life has been around for over 174 years, and we are one of the few companies that actually pay out dividends to our clients instead of profit hold or shareholders, because when we turn a profit, we just put it back in your pockets because we're not traded on the market. We are what's called a mutual insurance company. And so there's mutual companies and non-mutual companies. Mutual companies mean you can't make decisions on our company based on the stock market. We have a board and we have, people that make those decisions, but mostly the clients are the board members and they get votes on what changes happen within the company, what changes happen within their policies. So you have a lot of control and agency over what you're actually putting your money into.
So, yeah, and I love that because especially within the last 3 or 4 years, the market is crazy. It goes up,
Mm-hmm.
it goes down,
Hmm.
and knowing that my my savings or whatever it is that I'm doing is not going to fluctuate based off of that, that was something that, it was a seller to me right off because I play with the stock market and I lose, and I gain, but on top of that, I'm not going to lose a lot because I'm one of those, I'm very, very cautious. Like, even with working with her, it was like a lot of questions because I wanted to be more conservative. I didn't want to do nothing real big
Hmm.
and real
Yeah, you're
fast.
more risk averse.
Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Yes.
yeah.
So, and that was one thing that I loved about it because I also have a policy with Allstate, and I pay so much for that. And of course, with all of the tools that you have, usually if it's whole life, it allows you to take loans and stuff like that. But then when I looked at like my return, it was ridiculous. And that was based off of the market. Crazy.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so other insurance companies will change what they give to their clients based on their profits, whereas New York Life is really concerned with doing the best thing for our clients because that's what's done us the best for the past 170 plus years.
Mm-hmm.
And that was a team I wanted to be a part of. I want to be on the side of really helping people and helping them help themselves.
Right. So now let's discuss some of the tools that business owners like myself can use. How can they utilize your services to help them to prepare for the future? Talk about some of the tools that you do have for them.
It will vary greatly depending on business structure. Number one, if you're an LLC versus an S corp, and the size of your business will determine what you're able to do. But you can utilize insurance for, well, life insurance specifically, for a lot of different things, such as buy and sell agreements. And what that does is allow you to sell your business one day and have something backing it so that you have protections. We can do key person insurance if you have an employee that is really, really important to the operations of the business and you can't possibly replace them, or if the cost to replace them would be so much. We have products for that. It just depends on what your goals are going to be. But aside from insurance, I do investments as well. We do use the
Yes.
stock market, even though Sheila doesn't like it. We do play in the stock market. So there's a lot of things to make sure that once you want to leave your business, you can do it soundly and you can actually retire. A lot of entrepreneurs say they'll never actually retire, but that looks different for a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
Traditional retirement is not what we see it as anymore. It's not you stop working at 65 and you just stay at home and do whatever until, you can't anymore. People are going out, traveling, they're starting second chapters of their lives, maybe starting a
Mhm.
new business,
Mhm.
maybe
Mm-hmm.
starting a new project, passion project. So I want to make sure that I can help my clients do that. And my number one thing is to make sure we don't ever run out of money,
Yeah.
right? So we want to make
Yeah.
sure
That's
that,
kind of a priority, yeah.
yeah,
Yeah,
that
yeah.
you're
I
not
like
outliving your
I like
money.
that. I like
A lot of
that.
people outlive their money and they end up having to go get jobs again. And that's why we
Mm-hmm.
see a lot of seniors at, I say the three W's, Wendy's, Walmart, and Walgreens. They're greeters there. And I want to save my clients from the three W's.
Yeah.
That's real. That's real.
Yeah, that is. That
Yeah.
is. And so let's you mentioned some of those tools, right?
Hmm.
And I wanted to get into like some of those tools. Let's like I know that you're talking to me now about the annuities
Hmm.
and how they differ from like a regular 401k plan,
Right.
you know.
So when it comes to speaking about retirement tools and longer term financial strategies, annuities are similar to CDs, but they are basically the backbone of long term retirement. A lot of people need lifetime payments, or you need to make sure that your money's still growing, but you want to be more conservative. Annuities offer you options for fixed things. They offer you options for investable pieces that are involved in the market. There's a lot of different things we can do, and we can have a lot of fun with it too, especially for
Yeah.
business owners,
Mhm.
because you can create your own retirement plan. You can create your own 401k essentially without having to fund it like a 401k
Mhm.
and without having the tax treatment of a 401k.
Yeah.
So that's the other side of it. How much money you make is great, but how much money are you actually keeping, and how much money is Uncle Sam taking?
Mhm.
So making sure that you are using the right buckets at the right times is really important, especially for entrepreneurs and business owners, because you may need to free up some cash and you may need more liquid capital at a certain time than you do at another. And
Mhm.
so my main thing is being able to turn certain faucets on and off and having a little bit of business everywhere, meaning we don't just do all life insurance. We don't just do all stocks. We want to make sure that we have a diversified portfolio, and not just diversity as far as investments, diversity in tax treatment too. So what's
Yeah.
being taxed now, what's being taxed later, and what's being taxed never.
Yeah. See, people, y'all need to get with her, okay? Because I want to, like really touch on a few things because as we mentioned when we first started, we talked about there's so many different insurance companies out there. And I want to talk about a couple of things. Number one, I've had someone tell me that term life insurance is way better than whole life. Is that true?
It depends. I utilize term for my planning and my clients as well. Term insurance is great if you need to cover things for a certain period of time, or if you're on a restricted budget and you just want to make sure that you have the coverage. I often compare term to renting an apartment and whole life to owning a house. So with owning a home, there's more costs incurred. Of course, at the very beginning, it's more costly, and there's a lot more things that come with it. It's not as cut and dry, but once you get to the end of that home loan, you now have an asset.
Yeah.
Same thing with whole life insurance. The entire time you're building an asset that doesn't go away as long as the premiums are paid, and there's options where you can pay it up. You can do single premium options, meaning you pay for the policy once and you're done. Or you can do it to where it's shorter pay and it's paid off in a few years instead of paying it for the entirety of your life, which is what traditional whole life tells you. And I feel like when people think of whole life insurance, they think of it traditionally, and they're thinking, "Oh, I'm paying a bill until I pass away, and then my family gets what I paid," but it's never quite equal because life insurance is a safer instrument, so you're not going to see super high returns traditionally. But with term, it covers things while we can. I call it if insurance instead of when insurance. So if I pass during this time, it's going to pay out X, Y, and Z. If I keep doing this for this period of time, it's going to do this for me. Whereas whole life is when I pass, when I retire, when I need this, it will be there for me.
Mhm.
And so with that, I say utilize term as a part of the plan, but not the entire plan. All of my clients that have term policies, we eventually convert them to whole life, whether we
Mhm.
do it all at once or in chunks. But it just
Mhm.
depends on what we're using the insurance for. Because I have clients that got a PPP loan during COVID for their business actually,
Mhm.
and because they want to make sure that their families aren't left with that debt should they have to pay it back, they got a term policy to cover the amount of that loan, or
Mhm.
they'll do a term policy to cover the amount of their mortgage. And then once that's paid off or once that's done, you can convert that into a whole life asset, or you
Mhm.
can get rid of the policy because you don't need that insurance anymore. So
Right.
it just depends on what our real goals are. But if we're doing long-term planning, trying to create some tax-free options for us to reinvest in our business or reinvest in the
Mhm.
market or use for retirement, our kids, or home purchase, then whole life is going to be the better option for long-term planning, definitely.
Now, I also hear people talk about instead of you having the policy for when you die, you can have a policy while you're living. Sort of like it could fund you while you're living and
Yes.
also fund when you die.
Yes,
So how does that work?
just like equity in a home, right?
Mm-hmm.
You build up equity in this account and you can leave it there or you can use it for other things. With
Mm-hmm.
whole life policies, there's a cash value component that will grow, and it's not a guaranteed rate that it grows. It varies policy to policy based on how it's built, which benefits are in that policy, but it has a bucket of money that you can use for opportunities or emergencies.
Mm-hmm.
During the past 4 years, a lot of people's businesses have changed. A lot of people have had family pass suddenly. Illnesses have come up. And I've had my clients reach out to me and say, "Hey, Sage, I need X amount of dollars. What's in my policy?" And we wire the money to them.
Just
Same,
like
just
that?
like that. Is if it's in there, we can send it. So it's
Wow.
really you paying yourself or you paying into something now for the future.
Oh, okay. And so I want to get more into that because I heard I don't know if it was like a YouTube video or maybe like on social media how these wealthy guys they choose an amount that they want to live off annually, like ball players say I want $1 million, like they were saying that OJ did this.
Hmm.
I want to live off of $1 million, so they feed this policy, and then at that point they retire or they need that money. Now they are being paid out that $1 million tax free because they put the money over in it. How does that work? Is
So
that true, and how does that work?
it can be true. It can be. Everything's always it depends when it
Yeah,
comes
yeah,
to
yeah.
talking finance because there's so many varying things and so many little details that will change how it will work for someone, right? So
Mhm.
you can overfund a life insurance policy and then utilize that money. However, if you overfund it too much, it now becomes a taxable item again. So
Mhm.
there's a sweet spot where we fund it just enough to where we can build up the cash value to cut these checks for X amount of years and still be able to keep the policy alive so that when we do pass, our beneficiaries and our loved ones have the money that we set aside for them essentially.
Right.
Other than that, a lot of times when people want to live off of a certain amount, instead of doing a life insurance policy, they'll actually do an annuity. And an
Mhm.
annuity is similar to a certificate of deposit or a CD.
Mhm.
So let's say you put in $100,000 and you say, Sasha, I need to make sure that I get X amount of money for X amount of years out of this money.
Mhm.
We build that out. And so then I can say, yes, we can give you a check of this for the next 20 years or for the entirety of your life. It depends on how we want to build it, but there's definitely ways where you can set yourself up to get a paycheck for the rest of your life. and
Oh,
still
okay.
have the death benefit there for your family.
Yeah, because a lot of people were saying that that's what a lot of the, wealthy people do. And I'm trying to think of who it was. It was us.
OJ
You
Simpson
know
did
who it was?
utilize life
I
insurance in
know
his
that.
planning, and
I know
especially
he
in the
did.
state of Nevada, because in Nevada it has 100% creditor protection, meaning if
Mm-hmm.
you get sued or you have personal liabilities, they can't access that
Access.
money. So he
Yes.
had it protected in a trust as well.
I'm about to
Yes.
ask you about that after this podcast is over. I did not know about that.
Yes.
That's a thing.
A lot of
Yeah.
people don't know there's a few states where it has 100% creditor protection, and then other states have partial, some have none, but
Mm-hmm.
it depends on where you're at. And
Yeah.
so, he had great advisors. They knew the tricks back then.
Yeah.
They locked everything up into a trust. Trusts are private entities. You can't
Yeah.
sue a trust,
Yes.
as a
I
person. So,
know. We working on that right now. See,
yes.
she's helping me. But you know who else? Candy.
Yes, yes. Candy.
She talked about that when she first started in the music industry, she was told about the insurance tools and she used those insurance tools
Hmm.
where now she pulls money to do the things that she wants to do and it's not taking it out of her pocket.
And correct me if I'm wrong, but I think Candy's actually a New York Life client.
Oh, I don't know.
Yeah, I think she may have. I know which interview you're talking about,
Yeah,
and I
and
think
she
she may have
did.
said she uses New York Life Insurance, but
Yeah.
New York Life has had a lot of celebrity clients, a lot
Yes.
of presidents, a lot of
Yeah.
things like that. So we're a strong company, but yeah, she utilizes it because it's a way to basically pay yourself. You're being your own bank at that point.
Yeah. And you know what? I'm going to say this. I loved working with you because with insurance, I always felt like, I don't know, I was just being pitched something, and it was like, oh, well, we can do this for you and we can do that for you. And then in the long run, I'm a overthinker. So some of the questions that comes up, you know, a lot of people are not, that I deal with, they're not prepared for it because I'm going to always think out of the box. And the whole situation or our meeting together, our first meeting together, and you sitting down with me, it just felt like it was um it was just a process that was smooth. I didn't feel like you were trying to sell me something in order to give you a good commission. It was just like, because when I would say things, you're like, nah, you don't want to do that. Okay, you can save it, but listen, this is how it's going to be. And I had the paperwork in front of me. And she's like, okay, now, if you do this, this is going to, and it just felt really, really, you know how you just go and you know that you need something, but you get it and you don't feel like you leave the whatever it is, you leave the company or the store or whatever, and you say, man, that felt good,
Hmm.
you know.
Hmm.
And that's how it was. But I recently, to help another one of my clients, I did a small policy through, um, I think it was Shield Financial,
Hmm.
and I know the process was long, but I didn't have the same feeling. And I'm
Hmm.
not saying that Shield Financial is bad or anything. I just
Hmm.
didn't have the same feeling,
Hmm.
and I was okay with that because I only did it to help, another entrepreneur,
Hmm.
because and it wasn't costing me a lot of money,
Hmm.
so I was okay with that. But I think that as a business owner, you guys really need to, um, if even if you don't get in touch with Sasha, you can go to New York Life, right?
Yeah, I have other colleagues that are wonderful. Really, what it boils down to is the education that New York Life provided me, and I'm not gonna lie, I definitely tell people like you're buying me essentially because you could choose to work with anyone. You could do a
Mm-hmm.
lot of these things on your own with the way that the internet is. The information's out there if you really want it. I don't know any secrets that nobody else knows, right?
Mm-hmm.
But for me, it's about transparency, and I try to treat people the way that I would want to be treated in a transaction like this. This is not something I take lightly. Life insurance is very serious, and if it's
Mm-hmm.
not done properly, it can really change things for people. Same thing with managing finances and managing business finances. That's people's, you know, way to live. It's their family's way to live. So
Mm-hmm.
I don't play with that at all. And I really try to make sure that at the end of the day, I can have my clients say they walked away feeling good. It warms my heart
Yes.
to know
Mm-hmm.
that you felt that
Yeah,
way.
I felt
Those
good.
all those years
I felt
ago,
like it was easy. Well, you didn't know that, but I just felt like, oh, and it was not even a topic of conversation, because usually when you talk about it a lot, there's something back there that's
hmm
bothering you.
Yeah, you're like, I
You
didn't ask
know,
about this, or
right.
I don't know what
And
that
when I
meant.
Or
got
there's
home,
doubts.
right.
Hmm.
And when
Hmm.
I got home, my husband was like, "So how did it go?" And I was like, "Oh yeah, it's good. It's done." He's
Hmm.
like, "Oh, okay." And he didn't ask any questions because he saw the comfort in me. Like,
Hmm.
yeah, I'm good. It's good.
Hmm.
It's all good.
I always try to
Yeah.
over-inform because I too am an overthinker and I always
Uh-huh.
have a million questions. And so,
Yeah.
I welcome all the questions. Ask me something new so that I know it for next time and I
Yeah.
can be prepared. But I really try to give too much information sometimes and make sure
Mhm.
that my clients walk away knowing just as much about what we put together as I did so that
Right.
they understand it and they feel confident in it and that if they want to go look at their accounts and see what's going on, they know what's going on,
Yeah.
right?
Do you find yourself having to overinform a lot because this is kind of a subject that a lot of people know little to nothing about,
Yes,
or?
or they have too much wrong information,
Yeah.
right? Because there's information on the internet and like Miss Sheila said, there's a lot of people in this business that are in it just to make money or,
Hmm.
see people as just another client, another client, another client. I'm close with my clients. Like I go to dinner with them, I hang
Mm-hmm.
out with their families. I am a people person, right? My clients are another group of family for me.
Yeah.
So with that being said, I just feel like there's so many misconceptions and so much so much stress involved in it. A lot of people don't feel confident
Hmm.
in asking the questions because they don't want to feel stupid because they feel like it's something they should already know. Or they won't ask the simple questions because they feel like it's something they should already know because the information is out there or they've heard about it their whole lives, especially my older clients closer to retirement. If you're starting out, I didn't know this information 6 years ago. I only know this information because I do it professionally. So I want to make sure you know the information and you don't have to go through that heartache of feeling like you should know something that you didn't, that you weren't invited to the table when you're at it.
Hmm. Hmm.
Yeah.
There's probably a lot of things you have to explain to people, but if you had to name like the number one common misconception you have to over explain or like debunk to a client, what do you think you run into the most?
It's the term insurance versus whole life
Oh, really?
insurance.
Okay. Okay.
Yes.
So we did it.
That
Okay.
that
Okay.
is a
Okay.
top that is a top
Okay.
issue
Yeah.
and also what is the need for someone like me? Because
Hmm.
they can go out and do it themselves. A lot
Hmm.
of my clients have Robinhood accounts, and I tell them
Yeah.
if that's what you want to do, I'm not going to tell you to move your money
Hmm.
when you're actively investing. Let
Hmm.
that be your play money, but let's put together an actual plan for the future, long term.
Yeah.
All of my planning and advisement is always done with a long term thing in mind and holistic planning. So we're looking at how is our life going to change over the next few years? For my younger
Mm-hmm.
clients, does that mean building a family, building a new business, buying a home, transitioning out of one career into the next? For my older clients are in between, same thing. Are we taking care of our current family? Do we have parents we need to think about? If you have children, how are they going to take care of you when you're older, right? We're planning for longevity and planning for all of the possible things that may come up and COVID was a big exposure for that. A lot of people had to face that a lot faster than they thought they might have. So I do feel the need to just make sure I go over everything
Yeah.
and, dispel any possible things they've heard out there because there's so many experts in the field. And I always tell people I love when people refer to me as an expert. I love that you feel I have an expertise in this,
Mm-hmm.
but I don't know everything. I'm always
Yeah.
constantly learning, so I
Hmm.
don't like to refer to myself as an expert. I'm a trusted source
Hey,
instead.
and that is a good thing, but I want to go back, and touch on one thing that you said. And you said that when COVID hit, it took a lot of people by surprise. Um, with your clients that you helped, do you recall any of them that got through that process simply because of what you put them in that helped them financially to get through that?
Yes, there is some clients that were going to have to close their doors during COVID, and they tapped into either their brokerage accounts or, other funds that they had, or their cash value and their life insurance to pay their employees to keep their
Mm-hmm.
doors open, because we don't tell you what you can use your money for. We don't ask questions. It's a loan that you don't have to go through an approval process for.
Yes.
Mm,
So it was able to keep them going, literally.
Yeah.
I helped some clients get a PPP loan, actually, that helped them, and was able
Mm-hmm.
to walk them through that process unofficially, of course, but just to be, again, a trusted source for them, because I do talk to my clients regularly. I always tell people, I'm your financial quarterback. If you need anything, run me the ball and I'll get it there. If I don't know, I will find someone that knows, or we will figure it out together, you know?
Yeah, and another question that comes up, because you mentioned that they would take a loan off of that policy,
Hmm.
and a lot of people say, well, when you loan from your policy, you're paying that money back, and it's really bad for your policy or whatever. So I want to discuss that because, I know I haven't taken one, I'd say yet. Okay. I haven't taken one yet, but I do know from reading how when you do take out that loan, you pay it back, but it's a portion of your payment already. So there's still a growth happening there and a payoff.
Right. So with insurance policies and the loans and everything, there's a term that you might hear, and it's direct recognition or non-direct recognition. Direct recognition means that they recognize that you took a loan out of the policy, and they're going to be paying you or paying into your policy based on the money that is actually there. Meaning
Mm-hmm.
they're recognizing the money that's missing. If you took out $10,000, your growth is not no longer based on what the $10,000 that was in there. My clients are lucky to be with New York Life, because New York Life uses indirect recognition, meaning
Mm-hmm.
we will grow your policy based on the original contract, not based on the loans that you're taking out. So the growth continues. And I always advise my clients, do pay back the loan, because you are paying back yourself at the end of the day. However, should you choose not to pay it back, there's interest accrued, and that will get taken from the death benefit upon your passing. So depending on your family structure, what you use the life insurance for, there's some people that just use the life insurance completely and take all loans out because they don't care about the death benefit. And we built the policy for that, to
Mm-hmm.
be cash focused instead of beneficiary focused. And we don't ever talk about them paying back the loan because it doesn't exist. they're gonna
See,
they're gonna pay the bill when they pass, essentially. But if there is,
I had to do a girl snap on that one.
heard, okay.
Okay.
I'll make sure to cut to your camera. Don't worry. They're gonna see it.
So if they do plan on paying it back, the interest rate varies, but it's going to be a lot lower than the interest rates you're seeing at a traditional bank.
Yeah.
And I tell my clients, do this because banks do it. Banks utilize life insurance. It's called bank-owned life insurance, BOLI for short. But they utilize it regularly, where they are not loaning out your money that you're putting in the bank, but they're buying life insurance policies on their C-suite executives with the money that we're depositing in the banks. And then they're utilizing the cash value that they grow with their giant large policies, because it grows better the bigger it is,
Hmm.
and using that for loans, investments,
Wow.
and their capital. A lot of times when people go into banks to take out large deposits, they don't have that money sitting there, and they don't have the capital readily available, because they're going to take it out of their cash value instead of taking it out of other things.
Right.
Hmm.
Why sell stocks when you can take out tax-free cash?
Yeah,
Wow.
it's
That's
better
crazy.
return. It's fast. It's higher return.
I know.
Yeah.
That's crazy. Okay, this might be a little touchy, but I do want to ask this question. Because throughout history, um, this tool has been used,
Hmm.
even with, you know, um, actually putting insurance on a human that, you controlled at a certain point, they die off and all of that money comes to you. Why is this education or this tool not readily understood, available for, the black community?
So
because a lot of us lack that insurance. Why is that?
I would say if we look back years and years, right, maybe like my great grandmother, your grandmother may have had policies for all the kids at certain points. Older generations of black people definitely utilize life insurance because the life insurance salespeople would go into the neighborhoods and sell them policies.
Mm-hmm.
Now, where it fell off was possibly a misunderstanding of what the policy was doing,
Mm-hmm.
discontinuation of paying the premiums when they should have, certain things falling off, or companies not doing what they said they would do for these policies, not holding up their end,
Yeah.
where a lot of families didn't get paid what they thought they were going to,
Mm-hmm.
or they felt they were paying into something and didn't get what they agreed that they were supposed to get. And
Mm-hmm.
so a lot of people don't trust life insurance anymore.
Yeah.
A lot of people have a strong distrust of it. That's why we see so many GoFundMe, so many things. And
Yes, I see that
Mm-hmm.
constantly.
a lot of people have a certain case of invincibility too, where they just think it's not going to be them at any time,
Yeah.
or when they need it, they'll get it.
It's usually that way though with kids
Hmm.
because they're so little and parents don't think I don't need no insurance on them. They're babies. They got
Mm-hmm.
a long way to go. And
Mm-hmm.
that misconception, because they don't really understand they don't understand when it says unforeseen occurrences.
Mm-hmm.
They haven't
Mm-hmm.
grasped that.
Yeah.
It just like it's only for me, but not for little children when it refers to everybody,
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember watching a movie. I can't remember the name of the movie now, but they had the insurance companies going out, these people going out selling insurance door to door.
Hmm.
And this tool was actually not really helping these families
Hmm.
in the
Mm-hmm.
poor community,
Mm-hmm.
but that's who they targeted. They
Yeah.
targeted the poor um families to get this insurance policy, and they found out that this insurance policy wasn't going to be able to do the things that it was supposed to do, and then they would give one family insurance and then tell them to bring in all of their other families, and they started making them sell.
Mm-hmm.
Hmm.
And I can't remember the movie, but it was talking about how the insurance, you know, how they were doing their insurance,
Mm-hmm.
and how bad it was. And so I'm assuming that that also is adding to the fact that people don't trust insurance because they're giving you the visual, the true, but it's visual where
Mm-hmm.
you can sit and you can watch it and be like, oh man. And so now when someone comes to you like, did they put you up to trying to sell to me
Mm-hmm.
this insurance, because it's out there now.
Hmm.
Yeah.
What do you do?
Yep. Predatory sales definitely happen. That, like I said, there's tons and tons and tons of life insurance companies. I could go out today and start my own life insurance company if I wanted to because I'm licensed, right?
Mm-hmm.
But when you are looking into joining up with these companies, whether as an agent or a client, you really need to look at their strength in crediting. What is their history like? What involvement have they had in the communities? And I'll be honest, New York Life was involved in the insuring of enslaved people at the beginning of the start of the company, and it's public information. It's not a secret. We're very open about that. And
But that's not a bad thing because
because that was the
that
state of
that
this
was the
country.
state, right?
Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
unfortunately, that was the
And
state of this country.
you're an insurance company, so if they're coming to you and saying this is my asset and I want to insure it, where are you going wrong? And I like, I'm glad the fact that you brought that up because that's not something that I knew. But I want to say this, stop hearing stories like that and you running with it with not having all of the facts, because you can have a situation like that situation, and you just say, oh, well, we don't want to deal with New York Life because New York Life is um
Sounds like my dog.
So I know New York Life is a part of the whole issue because they were racist and they insured people. But is that actually the facts?
Mm-hmm.
No. What New York did was they supplied the service that their company, started in order to do. So
Mm-hmm.
there's a big difference there. You can't say that the fact that this company, insured
Mm-hmm.
slaves that they were a part of it. No,
Mm-hmm.
they were an insurance company, and those people had the right to do that because the laws governed that they could.
And
Mm-hmm.
most of our financial institutions in this country honestly got their start that way. What
Mm-hmm.
I think is more important is what are we doing now? New York Life Insurance has done wonderful things for the community as far as the African American History Museum, our direct involvement in communities. We have a great volunteer program where we put in money and hours. A lot of my colleagues and I do walks for different benefits and nonprofits. We really try to give back to the community because we've been provided for so well because of the business that we're in.
Mm-hmm.
But there's a lot of predatory companies out there. There's a lot of predatory people, I would say, in the industry too. So really vet the people that you work with and ask a lot of questions. Like Sheila asked me a lot of questions. Honestly, Miss Sheila found me, I think, on Instagram or
Yeah.
something, and found me online, LinkedIn, Facebook. I'm out there. So on one of those platforms, she definitely found me, and I came in not knowing what she may have needed from me and was just really ready to have a conversation. That's where it all starts is,
Yeah.
what can I do for you? What is it that you feel like you need from me? And then once we peel back some layers, I can see like, actually, we can do X, Y, and Z. And that's what I would recommend
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
based on the information at hand. But you really have to do business with people that want to do good business.
Yeah. And that's what, I was looking for something because I realize with my employees, and I do want to talk about this. I'm not going to go into detail of what I've done, but um, I'm a small business and I have employees, and my employees, although my manager is my daughter, okay, people, um, she works for her paycheck. She doesn't get paid to do nothing. She has to manage the office and she has to manage me. And I'm a whole handful. And sometimes, she knows me so well where she will step in and say, you have a 2 o'clock appointment. And I'm thinking to myself, I ain't got no 2 o'clock appointment. And she's like, yeah, you do right now. Cause I'm going to take care of this. Cause you going to ruin everything. So she works for her, pay. And I have other people that's on my employment staff that I feel that they work for me. They come here, they give me their best. You know, I'm small, so I can't offer them, all paid holidays. I can't offer them, 2 weeks vacation. There's a lot of things I can't even offer them medical, insurance because I'm so small and my company is not at that point where I can offer them, you know, more. So what I did was I used the company to utilize a bonus structure that it gave them that tool that I pay into
Mm-hmm.
for my employees. And as long as the company pays into that, that is growing for them and is growing for their family. And it also gives them a retirement sort of tool where they can pull and take money out and loans out or whatever, and they still have that. So I say this to say to all of you out there, you can't run a business and feel that you paying people their salaries is enough.
Right.
Be-
With a lot of my clients, we create custom benefits packages or non-traditional benefits package. If they want to do the 401k and everything, we've done that for some shared clients we have
yeah.
together. So we can set
Hmm.
up the traditional route too. But like with Sheila's clients or her employees, they don't need a whole 401k because of the size of the business,
Mm-hmm.
right? So we did
Yep.
something else. There's alternatives utilizing insurance and investments where you can really create a customized benefit package for your employees and give them somewhat golden handcuffs.
Yeah.
What is the reason for them to stay with you as an employer
Yeah.
when they can go work anywhere? During 2020, so many people left their current job and went to another job. What was it called? The great resignation or something like that, right?
Yeah.
So that was going on, and a lot of people jumped ship because they wanted better benefits, they wanted better employment surroundings, they
Yeah.
wanted a better environment.
It was a lot of the teachers too.
A lot of
Remember?
people just
They
completely
left.
changed careers,
Oh
They
yeah.
changed all of a
and
sudden.
so to prevent, if you have a business that relies on those same employees and you don't have the time to train new people or want to go through that to train new people and find new people, if you're not offering these things, you have to be competitive as an employer.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And you trying to be a competitor against the larger companies, you're always going to lose. So, one thing that has helped me is to utilize Sasha. Like right now, me and her are working on some other things, but that's the only thing that I can do right now is to utilize that. But also with my employees, I show them how much I appreciate them because I don't walk around and saying, "Oh, this is my business. Do as I say." Of course, I have,
Mm-hmm.
my rules and things in place, but if you look around my office when you come in here, these are not my decorative. This is not how I would decorate. This canvas, everything, it came from my employees.
Mm-hmm.
They, when we moved here, they said, well, how do you want us to do things? How do you want us to? And I told them, I said, it's yours. Go do what you want. And when I would come in and I would see, because the wall back there got all of
Right.
these colors and they was taping up and stuff. And I was like, even when I came out here and I was like, but gray is not in my logo. And, they were like, we got this. So doing things like that, it makes them feel like they're a part of it and they're
Mm-hmm.
growing it with me. When I make changes, we have a company meeting. We go out now. We just started this. We go out once a month and we sit at the table. We talk about things that we like, what we dislike, the changes we're going to make. Everybody throws their ideas out there and we make those changes. So it makes them feel, I'm not able to give them what a larger company could give them,
Mm-hmm.
but I'm able to make them feel like the growth, everything that happens, they're a part of it.
They have agency here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. And so you want to remember when you're out there and you're running your business, first off, when you're first starting, don't think that you can't afford some of the tools that she's discussed today. Reach out. Reach out to someone, sit down with them and say, okay, this is how I'm starting. And I'm going to tell the truth. When she came in, it wasn't like I was making, millions of dollars,
Mm-hmm.
but she looked at, my financials and she gave me something that fit, that was not going to hurt my current situation. And so I'm able to utilize that. And you can too. Just find someone, you know, and ease up some of that time.
Yeah.
Ease up some of that time because if you go to someone that's doing it on a daily basis, they'll be able to give you that information a lot quicker than you trying to do it on your own. I
Mm-hmm.
think it is a very important step to find you someone like Sasha that can help you start off the right way
Mm-hmm.
and prepare you, even if it's a little bit going here or there, find you someone that can help you and that you can rely on and you feel comfortable with. That's going to give you that feeling like, oh yeah, it's a good idea. I did good. I did
Mm-hmm.
good today. It's all good. And I can still run my business and feel comfortable about the amount, you know, that is being pulled out into those tools for me and my people.
Yep, it's never one size fits all. And I tell non-business owners and business owners the same thing. It's never too early to get someone like me. In my position currently, I don't charge fees. So a lot of my information and everything is free. A lot of people that do what I do, we do it for free. Essentially, we make commission. I'm very transparent about how I make money. We make commission when we put things into place. So if we open up an account, I'm going to make money on that based on how much we're putting in that account. But it varies. But my decision making is never based on that. And anyone trustworthy and reputable is not going to make their decision making based on that. It's going to be based on what you need. So really,
Mm-hmm.
assessing the situation like a financial doctor, really taking
Yeah.
a look at everything and then
Because she looks at everything.
yeah, and
She
then
looks at your bank account,
I
your
need to
financial
see it
statements.
all.
She sees it all.
I need to
And then
see
she
it all.
say, okay, this is what we can do for you.
Mm-hmm.
And she brings you what is good for you at that moment. It doesn't mean that it will stay that. Even if
Right.
it's something small, it doesn't mean that it will stay at that rate. You're always, I'm always in touch with her, and I utilize her for a lot of my other clients. So I'm always in touch with her, but not just for them, but for myself. I have questions and I ask, call her with those questions and I immediately get the answer that I'm looking for. But at least I have that, because I'm not an expert in that field. I would be going at it blindly. And you know how difficult it could be to start a task being blind. Doesn't mean that you're not going to be able to do it. It's just going to take a lot of time and uncomfortability because you don't know exactly where you're going.
Right.
So find someone.
You're feeling around blindly.
Yeah.
You're on a familiar room. But I feel like as entrepreneurs too, we so often want to do everything ourselves. We want to do it ourselves. We don't want to pay anybody to do it. But one thing that you can't buy is time. And time that you're working in your business is not time that you're working on your business.
Yeah.
So free up some of that time. Use people that have different expertise. Just like finance is my business. It used to be cakes. If somebody asks me about cakes, I can talk to you about that too. But I'm not going to go to my clients that have trucking companies and be like, you know what? I want to open a trucking company, but I don't need your help at all. I'm just going to
Yeah.
Google it and figure it out. When I have someone that I know has the information already, you utilize the people around you. And that's where, a lot of businesses will go further. Walt Disney utilized life insurance. And I know he had an agent. I know he had an advisor. All of the successful people you see around you have people around them
Yep.
that help and
That's
give the information that they don't have time to find and verify, and if you make the time, that's fine. But if your goal is to do something within your business and you have an expertise within your business, focus on that and let someone else carry the lightweight for you.
yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, so true. And I second that. And one thing you were just talking about is the time. I did a live this morning, and that's exactly what I was talking about, is that was one of the most important things within our life is time. And people don't realize that. And they have to realize that time, once you use it, you can't get it back, but you can learn from it, and you can change, moving forward. And so why waste a lot of time? And I talked about how I looked at my day. I had someone that was, very wise, and an old congregation that I had, and I was complaining about, I don't have no time for this. I'm just so tired and I got to do this and I got to do that. And this older sister told me, okay, well, have you ever just sat down and write down everything that you do on a daily basis? She said, write it down. And I took my phone, the note thing, and I wrote it down. I literally, took the time to do it, and I did it 2 days in a row. My scrolling time on social media was like 3-4 hours a day.
Wow.
3 to 4 hours.
You could look at that in the settings too. It's
It'll
bad.
tell you
Yeah.
in your
It's
phone.
I know it
exactly how
does.
much time
And
you
I
So
spend
bad.
on each
yeah.
app.
Yep. And when I did that, and so And then like my TV watching time, was taking up consuming a lot of the time that I could utilize to get some of the things that I was complaining about.
Mm-hmm.
And I remember taking the social medias off of my phone,
Mm.
and I completed so many projects in such a short time.
Mm-hmm.
So when you talk about time, people listen to that because you don't have to waste your time, because it's going to take her way less time
Mm-hmm.
for her to give you the information than it's going to take for you to research it. And
Mm-hmm.
once she gives you the information, she's going to give you the tools to research it and
Mm-hmm.
read up on it yourself. You don't even have to go searching for it. They're going to give it to you. So it's
Mm-hmm.
very important to have a person like that. I did a speaking event last year in Atlanta, and one of the people that was on the panel, she said that you had to create your village,
Mm-hmm.
surrounding you. Well, people, she's a part of that village
Mm-hmm.
when you're running your business. So you always want to get good people that's going to help you and guide you the way that you need to go. You need a person like her as a part of your village.
Mm-hmm. It's true. And
Yeah.
and I think also it's good. You got to be able to ask those people questions,
Yeah.
Yeah.
because if you can't learn anything from them, you're not growing yourself.
Yeah.
So don't be afraid to ask questions
Yeah.
when you need it, because I know it's helped you being able to ask and understand what she's been able to help you with and stuff
Yeah.
like that. So personally speaking, I've never seen anyone who runs a business, leads something, that is afraid to ask questions.
Yeah.
They know that they need to ask questions to be at where they're at. So if
Mm-hmm.
anyone is also trying to run their own business or trying to find tools to help the people that they have in their employ, definitely ask questions. I think that's like
Yeah.
the number one
And
thing
Always.
to
even
do.
those little ones that you said, sometimes they're afraid to ask because they feel like they should know. I feel like questions should. There's no stupid question.
Well, there's a couple, but most questions are not stupid.
And it's so easy to forget small things too,
Yeah.
because there's so much information that we get on the daily, whether it's from scrolling or people that we talk to, right? You have to kind of filter out some information you don't need. So if you have to ask me a question multiple times, I think I say that early on in my meetings too. If you need me to explain myself or repeat myself so many times, I don't mind doing it
Yeah.
whatsoever, because I need to make sure that you understand it, and you have to live in the question is something I try to tell myself. You
Mhm.
can learn something from everybody,
Hmm.
and always ask somebody a question every day,
Yeah.
because you never know.
It's true.
See, great information, people. And, before we do have to end because our hour is up. Wah. So we'll have her on another time. Trust me. But, I want to take this time to allow her to tell you all how you can get in touch with her, how you can find her on her social media pages and whatever it is that she has. So, pull out your pens, people, write it down because she's about to give you that information.
Because I have such a unique name, the easiest way to find me is simply Googling Sasha Harrell, New York Life. I'll come up. I promise. You'll see pictures, videos, contact information. But you can also find me on LinkedIn or Facebook. And I'm sure somewhere on the podcast we can put up my phone number as well.
Yes.
Yeah, so
Oh yeah, don't worry, I'll link it. I got
yeah,
you.
Yeah.
so you can reach me by phone or email. I'm always reachable. And if I don't get back to you that day, I'll definitely give you a call the following day or respond to the email. But I'm out there. You can find me.
Yeah. And tell them what states you can practice in.
So as of right now, I am licensed in Nevada, California, Georgia, Alaska, Washington, Tennessee, Texas, and I feel like, oh, Utah. I feel like I'm forgetting one. I want to say that's it for now, but if you are in a state where I'm not licensed, depending on the business, I'm willing to get licensed for you, and will continue to expand my business in that state past that. So if you need my help, reach out. If I'm not able to help you, I can definitely connect you with someone that can, either from my company or another colleague that I have, because not everybody is a good fit for everybody, right?
Yes.
You want to make sure that you're working with someone that understands you and operates the way that you like. So if I'm not the best person for you, let's get you to someone that can help, just because it's necessary regardless of if it's me or somebody else.
You guys
I would
heard
like
her.
for it to be me though.
Yeah. And you guys heard her. She's in a lot of states. So, hopefully, you have her information. If you didn't, you can just rewind
Watch it
or
again.
re-listen or
Start from the
yeah,
beginning.
and
Don't
Scroll
watch
worry.
it more
down.
than once.
Just scroll
You know
down.
what
Look in
I'm
the
saying?
description. It'll be there. Don't worry.
Yes.
I got you.
And, as always, people, you know, if you are a business owner out there, please contact us. Follow us, contact us so that you can sit on, this chair and you can tell your story. And even if your business is closed, we still want to hear from you because what happened to you can help the next person. And always remember, I end it like this all the time and I will end it again. Knowledge, experience, and
Ooh, I'm gonna help you. It's education.
yeah, and education, right? It is nothing if it's not shared. So share that information, make it valuable because those components can be valuable to me and to you, the listeners. So tune in next week for another episode. But we thank you for listening today and we so appreciate you guys. We appreciate you listening in. We appreciate, the comments. We want you to give more comments. Even if you disagree, we want to hear from you because your opinion counts too. That's why we made this podcast because we want everybody to have a voice and to see how they can help the next person. So thank you guys for tuning in, and we look forward to seeing you again next week.
All right. Perfect. Perfect.
Woo.
You added more to it than you usually do.
Oh, yeah, to the